Okay, so in this chapter, what we are going to learn uh, that how the history has to be learned, and of course, we are learning 8th class history, so it's all about modern time history, or we can say once the Mughals declined, after that, what happened in our country, that we are going to learn. So, how we have to learn those things, how those things are important, how we are going to learn about dates that we have to learn in this chapter. And when we are saying when, it means dates, we are talking about dates, what dates were important that we will be considering in this chapter. Then where all these things were happening, how it was connected with the dates, how it was connected with the chain of events. So we'll be talking about all this. So we can first consider few important points like the timeline. As I've told you, whenever you're learning any chapter, you need to do the timeline. What happened in this chapter? Where are some pictures like this picture? It has a history. It was made by somebody who was James Rennell, and then you will be talking about many other pictures and what are their relevance, because now history is not just history to just cram things and write it in the exam. No, you need to learn things in a well manner. So it's very important to understand each and every date, because when some picture with the date is given in this book, it means that is important for you. It is going to help you to understand the chapter basically. So there are few dates which you should learn properly, like this date 1782, when James Rennell produced this map of India, which was like uh, which was suggested by Robert Clive, or you can say Robert Clive ordered James Renner to produce this map. So he produced this map, and the name of this map was Hindustan, which you can say on the top. It is written there. Okay, so this is one thing. Then we have one more picture. This picture is of an advertisement of Lipton tea, in which you can see a man on horse. He is the Prince Arthur. Uh, he was the prince at that time, because he was the third son of Queen Victoria. So that is also important, and the impression of advertisement was also important that time when we are learning all these things. Then there is one picture of Warren Hastings, who became the first Governor General of India. You should know this thing very well, that he was the first Governor General of India, and he was uh, made Governor General in 1773 by East India Company. Then we will talk about one more date. It is 1817. In 1817, there was a Scottish economist and political philosopher. He published a massive 3-volume book, which was a history of British India, and it was produced by James Mill. It is again important because here you see the periodization of Indian history, which was Hindu, Muslim, and British. And this was criticized because this was not exactly all about Indian history. There was just a it was just a kind of, we can say, a strategy to divide India on the basis of religion. And from here only, we started talking about different religion, different caste. These things were not that specified in our society. They started dividing us. Then we'll be talking about this picture. This picture is the picture of the National Archives of India, which is in Delhi, and it started building in 1920s. So you have to remember this date. Then we have this custard apple plant, which was found during the surveys which were going on. There were so many surveys going on in India, and the names are given here. So I think it can also be an objective question, what are surveys and how it was being conducted, what was its purpose. So you should know that survey is something where you're collecting data about certain things. Like if you're talking about the zoological survey, so what you will be doing, you will be talking about different animals, and you'll be searching about the species, different types of species, their numbers, everything in that. So that is a kind of survey, and in that survey there were many surveys conducted by the Britishers, which was a good thing, but they were doing it for their own sake. They were trying to know the land of our country, the species, the diversity, everything. So they'll be doing it, they were doing these things. Then we are talking about the main thing, which was census. They started conducting census just because they wanted to know the people of India. Census is basically the counting of and the collecting data about the population living in a certain area. So they started doing that so that they can understand our society, our people, our culture, our religion, everything. So they started collecting the data. Then we have one more picture, that is actually mapping and survey operations which were being done in Bengal. So it was drawn by James Prinsep in 1832. So these dates we need to remember. Then this is a complete chapter, the rebel of 1857, the revolt of 1857. It is a complete chapter in your book, so we'll be learning about it later. But yes, you should know that this was the first freedom war in India. One more topic was important, that is meaning of colony, colonization, because here was the imperial power, Britishers. They came to India as a company, like East India Company. They came to India to just do the trade, but later they started controlling our territory also, which is our second chapter to learn, that is trade to territory. So what was this process? This process was actually colonization, when they started controlling everything and affecting everything of India. Like they started controlling our political, economical decisions. Then they started changing, influencing our social and cultural features. Like they started changing them, they started influencing them. So this is basically colonization. And India, which was a less powerful, we can say, but more resourceful territory, that was controlled by an imperial power, which was Britishers. So this is called colonization. Okay, and India became a colony of British. One more thing, when we talk about a certain date, like something happened on this date, then it is not actually history. History's idea changed when the event which took place on a particular date was like redefined, was learned or written in a detailed manner, like what happened around that date, everything, why it happened, everything, where it happened. So then it became history actually. So that's why how, when, and where we need to understand things in history. Okay, and there were certain processes in history, like if anything, for example, Indian people started having that habit of having tea as beverage in the morning, and it became so famous, it became so common in Indian households. So when it happened, like there a particular date? No, there was no particular date. It was a time period. Okay, then we see the influence of newspapers, advertisements, how it started, not on a particular date, but it started, and it just took a long period of time. So it was a process. Okay, so we cannot consider a particular date every time. It can be the time period around a particular year, and whatever happened in that particular year in certain places. So everything is required to be understand, not just the date as the main thing. Okay, and date can be different, like important dates can be different in different area of the world. Like if we talk about 1917, so in 1917 in Russia there was Russian revolution happening, and in India at that time we were involved in the war, first world war. So this way our histories are different, it's not same for every place. So we need to understand where also with the date, a particular year or a particular date. Okay, so this is all about this chapter, and we should learn it in detail. We should, whenever we have to get the idea of complete chapter, we need to read each and everything in from detail from the book, and then only we can get exactly the essence of that chapter. So this will help you to just understand the basic ideas, and then you need to read the chapter at least thrice. Then it will be a good learning for you. Thank you.